For those of you new to Scratch, this tutorial is going to take you through some of the elements of how to make the video for this coding challenge. Not all of them. Some of the things you might want to, well, you might have to look up online. But this should give you the basics of what you need to do. Over here we have our stage area. You can see I've got my rocket ship, and if I click on it, I can drag it around. I've got my Mars rover and I've got my rock. You notice that when I click on them or select them, a little blue line appears around, for example, here the Mars rover, so it's been selected. So what I want to do is I want to code these elements to do what I want them to do. Now the rocket ship's not going to do anything. If you notice in the movie, the rocket ship didn't really move or do anything, so he just stayed in one spot. So I'm just going to put him where I want him to go. He can go there for now. The rock, it does move, but I'm going to put him over there for now. And, well, actually I'll put him over here. And my Mars rover is over here. So I'll put my rocket ship over there. That's how he sort of is in the game. Now, if I want my Mars rover to move, I need to start coding him. So what I'm going to do, the first thing you need to do for that is you need to select a when clicked. You can see this little flag up here. It just means that when I click the flag, the whole process will start. When clicked, when clicked. I'm also going to have to do that for the rock as well. I'm going to put a when clicked in there. Now I'm going to choose motion. I'm going to go back to my, I'm going to click on my Mars rover. I need to put my when clicked in there as well. I'm then going to go to motion. And I'm going to select the glide command. Because what I'm going to get him to do is I'm going to get him to glide across towards the stone, or towards the rock, which is how I made it work in the movie that you watched. Now you need to figure out where you want the Mars rover to go. Scratch works on the X and the Y axes, as you can see here. I brought this up here. Okay, so we've got the 4 different grid areas based on our X and Y axes, and we can see here that if we want our Mars rover to go from this spot over to the rock, then we're going from a starting point of X 157 to negative 80, Y 86. You can see that down here. X 150 to Y negative 78, and he's going to end up at roughly X negative 104 to Y negative 80. Right? And you can see those coordinates down the bottom here. So you can see that, for example, my spaceship is roughly at the middle of the spaceship is roughly at X 187 and Y 77. So let's go back to our normal backdrop. You don't have to worry about changing those backdrops at the moment. Let's put our Mars rover back to where we want him to be. I want to select him and push him back. Click on script. And I'm going to get him to glide for 2 seconds. And as we can see, he's starting off at 171, negative 64. So I'm going to write in here, 171, negative 64. That's here. And I want him to go over to the rock, which is roughly, let's say, negative 96, negative 72. So I'm going to put in here negative 96 and negative 72. So now, if I press this little green flag here, let's see what happens. Our Mars rover moves over towards the rock. Great. Now at the moment what I would need to do, if I hit the stop button and I do it again, nothing happens because he's already at the position that we're telling him to go to. So we're actually going to add a little bit more code. I'm going to add into this code that when our green flag is clicked, we want our robot to go back to his starting point. So So if we look at the starting point, it's about 178 to negative 42. We're going to go 178 and negative 42. And we're actually going to put in a weight. So I'm going to go to my control, and I'm going to go weight, and I'm going to make it wait for 1 second, and then he's going to glide for 2 seconds. So if you look at my piece of programming here, it says that when the green flag is clicked, go back to 178 y negative 42. So I'll put him over here. He'll go back to the rocket, wait a second, and then spend 2 seconds from your starting point gliding over to the coordinates x negative 96, y negative 72. So if I click on the flag, let's see what happens. He's there. He waits a second, and he takes 2 seconds to go over. Now when we get him to return, what we actually need him to do is to change costume. And this is the last thing I'm going to explain to you, and then you're on your own for the rest of it. So if we have a look at our Mars rover with him selected, he's still selected because he's still got the blue around him. And I go to costumes. You'll notice that you've got 2 different costumes and 3 different costumes. You've got the original, where he's facing this way. You've got a Mars 3 costume where he's facing the other way. You've also got a Mars 4 costume where he's got the rock so that he's ready to carry it. So when we get to this point, what we're going to do is we're actually going to, so we go back to script, we're actually going to put in a little bit of script that says switch costume. And before that though, I'm actually going to put another weight in. I'll go to control, I'm going to wait a second again, and I'm going to go switch costume, and we want to switch costume to Mars 4. Mars 4 was the costume. We go back and have a look at the costumes. Mars 4 is the costume where he's got the rock. So, with that selected, when we play our movie or our code, when clicked, he should go back to the start. He should wait a second. He should for 2 seconds glide to x negative 96, y negative 72, which is where the rock is. He should then wait a second. He should then switch costumes, which is then with the rock facing the other way, ready to go back to the rocket. So let's see if that happens. Okay, and there he is. So things you would still need to do would be to make this rock disappear. Okay, this rock here. So you'd have to add some code into this to make it disappear. And you need to get him back to the spaceship. But I'm going to leave that all up to you. Good luck.